Police defend charges against Gladstone Henry. Roxanne Myers suing Jagdeo and Newsroom. And Jagdeo, champion of the soil, turns champion of the oil. I am Noriko Bulford and welcome to tonight's edition of Uncut News. The JPF says that Nigel Hughes is dead wrong in his accusations against the police, and they are now looking for the 9 people claiming to support Gladstone or Glaston. Frankly, the police are giving us 2 spellings, so I'm going with Gladstone Henry. The cops said that Gladstone Henry didn't offer an alibi as he decided to stay silent during the police interrogation. They then said that Hughes waited until after the second interrogation to say that Henry had an alibi and witnesses to back it up. The witnesses say that Henry was home with his family watching a live stream of his brother's post-mortem examination that was supposedly shot by his father. But the cops turned around and showed them video evidence showing that his father didn't even have a cell phone on his person during the post-mortem. And the officer they claimed was at the house with them was actually at the funeral home with Henry's father and Nigel Hughes. He can even be seen in the background of a Prime News broadcast, just walking about, I guess, doing his cop thing. Ultimately, the cops are calling this an attempt to pervert the course of justice, meaning that the officers are now looking for the 9 purported alibi witnesses. A woman was fined $15,000 with a default sentence for 3 weeks imprisonment after she was found guilty of using threatening language towards her husband's UG classmate. Emily Iman had initially pleaded not guilty to the charge, which stated that on December 6 of 2019, at Georgetown, actually at Guyana, she made use of threatening language toward Charmaine de Mendonca. But what she actually did was run upon de Mendonca at her job at Guyana and accused her of sleeping with her husband. The two then got into an argument, which Iman ended up cussing the woman out and straight up assaulting her. Like literally, beating her down right then and there. While she has already been sentenced for the threatening language, the wounding case is still ongoing. Instead of taking time to relax on her taxpayer-funded vacation, Roxanne Myers is filing a multi-million-dollar libel lawsuit against Jagdeo and the Newsroom. She is seeking damages in the sum of $100 million against Jagdeo, whom she said defamed her during a news interview published by the Newsroom on March 5th, 2020. Meanwhile, she's suing the Newsroom for $50 million for publishing said interview on its website. Wow, if Wrong and Strong was a person. Today, Devon Thomas and Randy Isaacs pleaded not guilty to having murdered businessman Kumar Mohabir during an altercation at the 2013 Majramani celebration at Vlissingen Road. On the day in question, Mohabir had stepped on one of the attacker's feet, which triggered the argument. However, the argument ended with the man breaking beer bottles and stabbing him to death in front of his family. Now it's time to tell you about Best Buy's car of the day. Currently on sale is this Nissan Juke. It comes with mag rims, new tires, DVD, stereo, reverse camera, rear spoiler, and much, much more. Buy cash for $2.9 million, or pay down as low as $580,000 with around $66,000 monthly for 4 years, and it is yours. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info, or visit their showrooms at Lot 171 Peter Road Street, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lamar Street, and tell them Noriko sent you for this sweet deal. Yesterday, one weed man in Linden was charged with possession and attempted bribery after the police sergeant that was processing him refused to take the $33,900 bribe. The 25-year-old was arrested in his home when the police found 88 grams of marijuana under his bed, but he tried to bribe the sergeant at the station. When he was told of the offense, he apologized and said he was just trying to get home to his 4-year-old daughter. Last night, a bike-on-bike accident ended with 39-year-old Ricardo Singh getting chopped on his forearm by the other angry cyclist. According to the police, the collision, argument, and subsequent chopping occurred along the Lally Dam access road around 8 p.m. Singh is currently in the hospital while the man is still on the run. This morning, 21-year-old aviation officer Joshua Mentor was charged with causing death by dangerous driving being an unlicensed driver, riding an uncertified motor vehicle, and breach of road insurance. He denied that on June 27th of this year, at Mandela Avenue, he rode his motorcycle in a manner which resulted in the death of his best friend, 20-year-old Kareem Powley. He was released on $205,000 bail. A quick cent is better than a slow dollar. Sell Digicel top-up and watch your money grow. This is one of the simplest investments you can make to let your money earn you money. Call 685-3109 and get started today. It's now time for today's Runner Report. Today, the nation recorded 89 new cases. There are now 477 persons dead, 15 persons in the ICU, and 1,448 persons in home isolation. The total number of confirmed cases around the nation now stands at 20,231. So please, people, wash your hands frequently. Avoid touching your nose and mouth and mask up before you leave the house. When you do leave home, try to avoid enclosed spaces and large crowds, and remember to give 6 feet of space between you and others. And in the region, the first hurricane to hit Barbados since 1955 has already caused island-wide destruction as it battered the nation earlier today. Tropical Storm Elsa was upgraded to a Category 1 Hurricane Elsa around 8 a.m. as it continued to dump heavy rains across the island with the maximum sustained winds of nearly 74 miles per hour. But in less than 1 hour, the system was again downgraded to a tropical storm as it showed signs of weakness. There were reports of families trapped in their homes, collapsed buildings, roofs off, damaged homes, power and water outages. But amidst all of that, there were no reports of casualties. Hey Guyanese business people, are you looking for a great way to advertise your business? Search no more. Join one of the fastest growing business directories in Guyana. Register your business on snap.gy and get access to more eyeballs. And wait for the best part, it's absolutely free. Get your business listed today on snap.gy. And over in the diaspora, 58-year-old New York-based Guyanese scamp Gangadai Rampasalt Azim, also known as Julie Azim, has pleaded guilty to a 12-year-long conspiracy to commit bank fraud, robbing her employer, a Manhattan-based bank, of approximately $1.7 million. Azim of Richmond Hill, New York, of course you'd be from Richmond Hill, well, Azim pled guilty to 1 count of conspiring to commit bank fraud, which carries a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison. Azim is scheduled to be sentenced on October 19th of this year. And now for our stupid news of the day. Something I thought about recently is the fact that throughout his first 2 terms as president, Jagdeo pushed an agenda that focused heavily on the impact of climate change on small developing nations and, as an extension, the world. And despite having sold off a huge chunk of our nation's land to foreign mining companies, sketchy businessmen, and Chinese logging companies, he was still able to convince Norway to give us money not to cut down what's left of our jungles. Love him or hate him, he was able to get foreigners to open up their pockets whenever he talked about how broke the country was, and of course, climate change. For this, the United Nations awarded him their Champion of the Earth Award in 2010. But a decade later, and now the Champion of the Earth is now sounding like the Champion of the Oil. This time around, he's noticeably quiet about climate change and renewable energy. But now he is touting the necessity of building a $1 billion gas-to-shore plant and to pump all of the oil out of the ground as quickly as possible. This complete reversal in policy is especially worrisome in the face of historic flooding, constant blackouts, and unfair distribution of the benefits of the oil industry. Unfortunately, this flip-flopping is not unusual for people who stay in politics for too long. Like I always like to say, if your favorite politician hasn't lied to you yet, then you're probably just not paying attention. Ha-ha! Anyway, I didn't have anything deep and insightful to say on this one. I just find Jagdeo sinking for his Exxon soup to be pretty funny. So, you just booked a flight from New York to Guyana. The flight costs roughly $300. With a total of just 22 kilos, your flight cost is taken care of. And as for you shippers, stop wasting half your day online just to be overcharged for multiple days shipping that may or may not get there on time. Go to ferryshareglobal.com and become a member today. Moving on to our Uncut News Views Poll question of the day. Every day we pose a question about current events in the nation, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it relates to us. So, you give your responses in the comments, and we'll read the best ones in the following episode. Yesterday's question was, has the curfew been effective in your mind? If not, then what should the government do instead? Wayne Jacobs said, the curfew only helps in a way. There ain't much that the government can do. If the citizens do not wish to obey the curfew, perhaps it's time that the government and the opposition come together as one and speak to the nation. Maybe. Stacey Hamilton says, oh please, curfew my behind. When the other night I was out sleeping, rocking until after 1 in the morning. I guess that applies to small business only. Yep, small businesses and anybody without links. And finally, Anthony Gibbons said, hi Noriko, I watch your program every morning to help start my day, but I have one question. Why do you have only 3 fingers and a thumb? Haha, I should probably ask you, why do you have 4 fingers and a thumb? Haha! Anyway, as for his answer, he says 1. Offer incentives to get more persons vaccinated instead of spending the money on other silly projects. 2. A real lockdown for 2 weeks with only essential services. However, before doing it, unlike the stupid stimulus package, they should issue $50,000 to each citizen. To make it easy, use the banks and companies to pay registered employees, and they can then focus on the unemployed and registered folks, which will be less work. You can even state that only vaccinated persons will get the $50,000 to promote more vaccination. I never thought of that plan, but I like it. I like it a lot. So for tonight's question, mini bosses. What is something you would change to make the system make sense? I know it's a lot, but at least just give us 1 or 2 good examples. So, think about that question and tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight. Check us out Monday for another. Until then, I'm Noriko Bulford saying, have a great weekend. And as always, don't drink and drive, or you'll end up on Monday's episode the hard way. Ha-ha! Good night, folks. Hey, Uncut News viewers, thanks for watching. You can subscribe by clicking on this button over here, or click over there for more news. You can also drop a comment to let me know if you've made it to the end of the video. Goodbye for now.